877-3DP-SHOW. Email address dp@danpatrick.com. McLovin, the poll question before we bring in Byron Scott.
Should we read anything into the Cavaliers' 10-0 postseason start? 62% say yes.
Oh, okay. Well, let me start with that topic there for Byron Scott. And here's one thing I wanted to mention, because a lot of times there's a new generation that will find somebody as a head coach. If you don't remember what Byron Scott was as a player, you missed out on one of the great shooters, I think, in NBA history. I think you averaged 22 one year. Does that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
Okay, but you were more that 18-foot jumper. Would you have been a more of a 22, 23, 24-foot jumper if you played today with today's style?
Absolutely. Our team wasn't built that way. Like you said, back in those days, that's just not how you play basketball. You were really more of an inside-out, team, and that's what we had with James Worthy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Magic was able to go on the post. So we didn't rely on three-pointers. That was almost the last result, when teams were double-teaming us. But, myself and Michael Cooper and Magic, to a certain extent, got his game so developed that he was able to shoot threes as well, but we just didn't do that on a regular basis. But now in today's game, if I shot 5 threes in one game, Dan, that was like unbelievable. So I probably would do that now in one half. If I had the opportunity.
Bird didn't shoot threes.
Nobody really shot them back then. Not to this type of productivity where guys are shooting them 20, 30 times a game. Not guys, but teams. In general. That just wasn't something that we did on a regular basis. Like I said, we wanted to feature our best players, Kareem and James and Magic, and those guys were great on the block. If you didn't double-team them, they were going to score. If you did double-team them, now you're leaving myself, Michael Cooper, and guys like that open.
There's so many angles I want to touch on here. Let me start with greatest Laker of all time. This was the topic on Monday. I know you played with Magic and Kareem.
Yep.
But could you say, and you coached Kobe.
Yep.
Could you say who the greatest Laker of all time is?
That's a tough one. I go back and forth with that because people ask me that question. And when you talk about those three guys, I don't think you get any argument from a lot of people. I think they'll all get votes, obviously. But, man, Magic and Cap, Cap, leading scorer in the history of this game, to me is considered probably the greatest player in the game. And then you got Magic, who's the greatest teammate, greatest leader I've ever been around. So I look at those two guys, and I'm probably a little bit biased because I played with those guys for a number of years. But I love Kobe as well. I came in, I went out when he was coming in.
Yeah.
Got to know him extremely well. Got to be extremely close. So I can't pick between those three, Dan, to be honest with you.
But if you were starting a team, I gave you Magic, Kareem, Kobe.
Mm-hmm. What era?
At age 22. Oh.
If I was starting that team in the 80s,
so if it's
I'm taking Kareem.
Kareem, okay, but how about today? Today's game.
Then it would probably be between Magic and Kobe.
Could you imagine Magic if you can't put your hand – because could he have averaged 30 a game if he wanted to?
Yes, but that wasn't Magic's nature. He was so much of a team player and getting his teammates involved that he never really thought about scoring. That was the third or fourth thing he thought about. I mean, the one year Raleigh had to challenge him and say, we need you to be more aggressive offensively. And then when he was more aggressive, we were a better basketball team.
Well, you won the title with that one-man show against the Sixers.
Right.
He scored, 42?
42 and 15 and something like that, and 7 assists, and started at center.
Yeah, I know.
He played all 5 positions that game.
Yeah.
So he's one of those unique players that you can put him on the floor, and he's going to flourish, and he's going to make his teammates better.
But where are all the big men now?
I don't know. I think
it's like they've gone to the
Europe
perimeter.
Yeah, I mean,
like they become small forwards here, Byron.
All these guys are the 6'11", 7 feet guys that would be centers back in our day.
Well, Porzingis is on the perimeter.
7'3".
Yes,
and he's a guy that's he's above the 3-point line. I mean, he can be above the 3-point line. So the game has just obviously changed, big time, Dan, from where it used to be to where it is now, and. It's still an exciting game, but you just got these guys who are so much more athletic at 7'1", 7'2", 7'3", that can put the ball on the floor and also can spread the floor and make shots from threes.
If we redid the draft, who would the Lakers have taken at number 2?
Last year?
Yeah.
I still think we would have took D'Angelo.
Instead of Porzingis?
Probably so.
Oh, you're saying that with a smile on your face. Well, wait a minute.
Yeah,
You're not the coach anymore, Byron.
I tell you what, Porzingis.
You take Porzingis.
Man, that kid. I think he has an upside that's unbelievable.
But he's unique.
He's very unique. At 7'3".
Yes.
Again, we had him in and worked out, and he wasn't in great shape at that particular time. And you just didn't see all this. You knew the kid would be good, but you thought he would be good in 3 or 4 years. You didn't think he'd be good this year, this early and this quick.
So he wasn't in shape.
Right.
And was there any discussion about taking him at 2?
Yes.
Well, let me behind the curtain here. What was the discussion here?
It was.
Was it close?
It was pretty close. And again, when you can only have a guy in for an individual workout, that's real tough. Because a lot of guys look great at individual workouts, and then there's a lot of guys that don't. I always really felt that if you can have a guy in or a group of guys where they can play 3-on-3 basketball, then you really get a better idea if these guys can play right away. Like I said, he just came in town. He was pretty worn out after like 20 minutes.
Oh.
So you just didn't get a chance to see everything that he's capable of doing until the season started. And we saw him in the summer league. I said, "Whoa, this kid's gonna be pretty good." So I mean, there was serious discussion about him, and probably if he'd have been in great shape, then there would have been even more serious discussions about him.
No doubt about Karl Anthony Towns, though.
No doubt about it.
I mean, he's real.
Saw him work out, and we said right away, "Dang, we wish we had the first pick." I mean, because you knew right away watching him work out that this kid was going to be special.
We're talking to Byron Scott. The Byron Scott basketball camp, by the way, Fullerton College runs through August 1st through the 5th, and also a new book out in June of next year called For the Win. Now, is this going to be? Are you going to be dishing? Is there gossip in here? Like For the Win? What are we talking about here now?
You know what? It's a collaboration between me and a friend of mine named Charlie Norris, my workout buddy for 7 years. And Charlie Norris, about 3 weeks ago, just hit the beautiful age of 70. So this guy and I are in the gym, and people always look at us and say, "What do you guys have in common?" He's 5'6", 5'7", real short guy and little bald, and we just clicked. And we decided one day we were sitting on the mat stretching, saying, "Man, we should just do an exercise book." Well, the exercise book has turned into something obviously totally different. And really what the book is really talking about is the similarities of coaching a basketball team or running a franchise as in running a business, because that's what he does for a living. So it's a lot of stories in there, a lot of similarities on some of the things that he's done in his life that pertains to running a business and how basketball and business kind of, entwine each other. And we just think it's a unique story, and we just decided to, get a little bit more serious about it and hired a writer, and he thought it was great, and here we go.
So the book coming out next June is called For the Win, talking to Byron Scott. We had Rex Chapman in yesterday, and Rex, of course, former NBA player, was in the front office for an NBA team, and he talked about Ben Simmons, and he talked about the lack of maturity.
Mm-hmm.
How concerned would you be when you hear something like that, questionable teammate? How concerned would you be as a coach or your team in position, as the Lakers might be, to take Ben Simmons?
I think it draws some red flags, obviously. I think as a general manager or the owner of a team, you're going to have to dig in a little bit deeper and find out a little bit more about the history of the kid. The maturity part doesn't really affect me as much as what I saw on the basketball court. Because what I saw is a guy with great skills, really handle the ball, great passer. Seems like he had very good IQ for a basketball player at his age, but I didn't see a whole lot of passion from him at times. And to be the best player in college basketball and not be able to get LSU, that team, to an NCAA tournament, that's the thing that worries me more than anything.
But do you think he wanted to be there at all, Byron?
I think he went there for one reason, that he was going to play 1 year, probably didn't go to class, and I'm out of here. So
Yeah.
I think he knew at 18 years old, I'm going to play 1 year college basketball, and it just depends on where I want to play, and then I'm going to the pros. So I don't think he had a whole lot of intentions on being there, much longer than 1 year. And I think his goal was just to get in the NBA. That's the bottom line.
But can I blame him or do I blame the system? Because he has to go through the motions here because he knows that his next stop's the NBA. He doesn't want to get injured.
Right.
I had a problem that it just didn't feel like he loved being there, like he was passionate. The best player in the game should be having a whole lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of it is a system. I've been one of those guys that's been talking about AAU basketball for a long time, how I think it's destroying a lot of these young guys anyway. So I think he's one of those guys that's put in that little bit of that box, and this is what you're going to do, and, been privileged and handing the silver spoon and all that stuff all his life. And so, he felt that, hey, I'm going to go here 1 year really just for basketball, just to get to the next level.
But you were in this position, and we brought this up the last time I talked to you. I mean, you're coaching kids who are the age of your kids, and they've got this money. They're on center stage there. They're hanging with the Kardashians. I mean, they're doing, it's crazy. And you're trying to coach to keep your job. And you're trusting these 20-year-olds to not be knuckleheads out there.
It's tough. Like you said, no, first of all, Dan, all my kids are older than these guys.
Oh, they are? Oh, okay.
I don't have a 19 or 20-year-old.
Oh, okay.
My youngest is 25. So, yeah, it makes you scratch your head because you have these kids and you're trying to introduce them to, I always say the NBA stands for no boys allowed. You're trying to introduce them to a man's game, on an everyday basis. And when they leave that gym, a lot of these kids, they have so much idle time and they have so much money. And they're used to going to school for a little while and things like that, but you practice at 11 o'clock. Let's just go back to last year. So most of these kids report at 10 o'clock. By 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they're done. So for the rest of the day, what are you going to do? How are you going to spend your time? So that's where a lot of these kids get in trouble, is because they just have too much idle time and too much money to spend. So it's a hard job because you got to think about them outside the basketball court as well as on the court.
We'll continue with Byron Scott, a few other things. I'm sure you got a Michael Jordan story, and I'm sure you got a Larry Bird story to tell us.
I got a couple of them. Yeah, I got one of each of those.
Okay.
I did want to ask you a question, though. I was looking at the staff over here. You guys look really good today, and when I normally watch the show, you guys look okay, and Dan, you look better. So what's the deal today? You look like they normally look, and they look like you normally look. What's the deal? I'm just curious.
They wanted a makeover. These guys wanted to wear makeup. They're in Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Kevin Frazier from Entertainment Tonight said, I'm going to hook you up. So he came in, and Paulie's got a jacket on.
Paul looks great.
That costs more than
my car.
Yeah.
Coach, this is Showtime over here.
This Showtime?
Yeah.
Hey.
If you were
Dan,
running,
they look good, I'm telling you.
If you were running with these guys in the mid-'80s with Showtime, how do you think you'd do?
I probably have 5 championships then instead of the 3.
I meant off the court.
Oh, man. I probably have 1 championship then.
We'll continue with Byron Scott right after this. From sun to rain to snow and everything in between, Continental Tire is engineered to tire for what you do. They want you, the driver, to have the traction, performance, and comfort required on any road you travel. So Continental Tire is engineering tires with extraordinary performance and reliability, putting confidence into driving. For more information and the location of a dealer near you, visit ContinentalTire.com. Continental Tire for what you do. Talking to the former Laker head coach, Byron Scott. I saw where you were criticized that maybe you enabled Kobe Bryant, and you were put in a pretty tough position. I got young kids that I want to see if they can play, develop them, but this was Kobe's farewell song. And I'm curious what management wanted from you. Did they want you to let Kobe be Kobe and, even though he wasn't a great player or consistent player, is that communicated to you as the head coach of, here's priorities here, Byron?
Not necessarily. Mitch and I really never talked about that. We knew it was his last year. So as I stated before, my main objective, was to make sure he got to that last game. And I knew I had to cut his minutes down. I knew I had a little bit of a balancing act with him and the young guys, but I tried to make it as easy as possible for that transition. But I also knew there was going to be a number of games that he wasn't going to be able to play, so it was going to give a lot of these young guys even more of an opportunity to go out there and play. So, Mitch or Jim or anybody never really came to me and said, okay, we want you to play him less, play him more. They just basically let me do it the way I felt was the easiest for Kobe and for the younger guys. And like I said, at the beginning, even at the beginning, Dan, at November, when he told me that this was his last year, is when I really started thinking about making sure that I could preserve him to get to April 13th. And that was the biggest thing that I wanted to do. And I asked him, I said, Kobe, you got to be perfectly honest with me on games you can't play, because your body's just killing you or aching. And the games that you do play, I'm going to hold you to a certain amount of minutes, every single night, because I want you to get to that last game, and I want you to be able to play the last game and walk off this court the way you should.
But were you putting the best team out there, do you think, every night, knowing that Kobe didn't want to come out, and you also had to develop these kids?
Right. Not all the time. I mean, that's almost impossible to do. If you're trying to preserve one of the greatest players that ever played the game, but you're also trying to develop the young guys. So it is a little bit of a juggling act. But I did the very best that I could do with that situation because, like I said, I wanted him to get to that last game, and I wanted him to walk up that court standing. But I also wanted to give these young guys a chance to develop in a nice way. I wanted them to keep getting better each month. And not take those steps backwards. And I think for the most part, when you talk about the young guys that we had on that team, I think for the most part, all those guys developed nicely and got better as the season went on, and Kobe was able to go out the way that he wanted to go out.
If you just had those young kids, you don't have Kobe, do you still have a job?
I don't know. I really don't know.
Because I just don't. I think you were in a difficult position. It didn't feel fair, is what I'm saying here, Byron.
Well, I appreciate that, but like I said, even after the season was over, I understand this business. I know how this business is, and there's really nothing that happens in this business anymore that shocks me. There's things that kind of surprise me, but there's nothing that really shocked me.
You weren't surprised when you got fired?
I wasn't shocked.
You were surprised.
I was a little surprised, but. Like I said, when I got home and I thought about it, woke up the next morning, there's only two things you can do. You either sulk about it or you move on, and I chose to move on. And that's how I've done in my whole life. Every time you get knocked down, I get right back up. And that's what I plan on doing this year and for the rest of my life.
It's Byron Scott, former Laker head coach, joining us here in the studio. So you played for the Lakers in the 80s, and I remember when you're watching those games, the ball movement that you have. So Golden State is moving the ball, and people think it's this incredible new style. Now, they're shooting threes, but you guys ran all the time, constantly moving. The Celtics even moved.
Absolutely.
Fast break.
Absolutely.
So when did we lose this movement, transition, fast break points? Because now Golden State's being, they're hailed as, oh, my God, look at this new type of offense.
Right.
All they're adding is the three-point element to moving the ball and five guys touching it.
And they're adding the element of small ball, so to speak, with Draymond being able to play the center position on the defensive end and really draw everybody out on the offensive end. But it's nothing new. I mean, like you said, that was things that we did back in the 80s. And when you mentioned Boston, we ran a fast break where Magic had the ball 90% of the time because he's the best playmaker in the game that I've ever seen. And we ran a motion offense to get up and down the floor to try to get quick and easy baskets. But if we didn't, we always reversed the ball. The Boston Celtics did it with the pass. They basically tried to pass it up the sideline and get into their offense that way. So this is nothing new that we're seeing. The only thing that's new, like you said, is that, you're seeing a multitude of three-pointers and you're seeing a lot of small ball by certain teams. So I don't know where in the transition that we lost that, from the 80s till the present date. But obviously it's something that's been kind of gradually getting away from us. And the way the game is played today, I think this is a fun style, obviously, but you got to have the personnel to do it. If you don't, you can't. Everybody can't be Golden State. Everybody can't be San Antonio Spurs. So you got to find out what's best for your team to be, successful. Because if you try to mimic them with the players that you have and you don't have those players, it's not going to work.
Well, that's why when they say Luke Walton's coming to the Lakers and he's going to bring Golden State style, I said,
he better bring Golden State players then, because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
You got to get guys that play that style and is used to playing that style for a number of years. And let's understand that Golden State didn't just start doing this last year. When they won the championship, they've been doing this, and those guys have been together 4 or 5 years. When you look at Clay and you look at Steph and you look at Draymond, they've been together for a nice period of time right now. So this is a style that they're accustomed to. It's a style that they feel comfortable playing. And if you try to beat them at their style, that's where you're going to have problems.
Who would you rather see face Steph Curry in their prime, Kobe or Michael?
Whoa. Both of those guys are killers. I mean, and both of them would love to take the challenge of guarding Steph, in their prime.
But that whatever you do, I'm going to do because Steph couldn't guard either one of those guys.
No.
But Mike could guard Steph.
Yes.
If Kobe wanted to guard Steph, he could.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But see, the thing is, both of those guys would want to guard Steph.
They would.
Because they like the challenge.
Yeah. Well, Mike would.
Both of them, believe me, both of them would love to guard him back in their prime.
Give me your best Michael Jordan story.
Michael Jordan story. You guys remember Anthony Peeler?
Yes.
Okay, so
out of Missouri, right?
Out of Missouri.
Yeah.
So we got the Chicago Bulls coming in town, and unfortunately, I got a sprained ankle, and so.
Did you say fortunately you
unfortunately,
do? Oh, okay.
Unfortunately. I enjoy guarding Mike because he was, the one thing I did with Mike is I never got him pissed off. He make a shot, you say, good shot, Mike. You don't talk trash to him so he can go off for 60. You try to kill him with kindness.
Yeah.
You don't try to talk trash to him. So they're getting off the bus. We're done with shoot around, and we're walking out, and MJ says, B. Scott, what's going on? I said, what's up, MJ? He said, man, I hear that you're not playing tonight. I said, no, I sprained my ankle. He said, who's guarding me? I said, Anthony Peeler. He said, 50. So I told Anthony Peeler, listen, MJ, he's probably going to go for about 50 tonight on you. So just don't piss him off. Just be cool. He ended up with 54. So the man could do basically whatever he wanted to do on that basketball court.
What's your Bird story?
Larry Bird, and a lot of people don't know this. You probably know this, Dan, but Larry Bird was one of the biggest trash talkers in basketball. And a lot of people say, really? They thought it was Reggie or Charles. Larry Bird talked more trash on the basketball court than anybody I've ever played against. And he told me two things one game. Our rotations, double teaming Kevin McHale, always had to rotate to the corner, and Larry Bird was the one shooting it. So he shot one, and I'm trying to block this shot, and he would just tell me, Scott, you're a little too late. A little too late. So we playing him, and the last play, he says to James Worthy, he says, you guys don't have to worry about it. I'm going to go right over there that corner. He said, they're going to set a screen for me. We're taking the ball out. He said, I'm going to curl right over. And he's telling us to play. He's telling us to play before they even take it out. He said, I'm going to go right over to that corner, and I'm going to catch it, and I'm going to shoot it, and I'm going to tie the game or win the game, whatever the case may be. They take the ball out, and I think it was either Danny or
DJ?
The late, great DJ.
Yeah.
Take the ball out. The man curled right to the corner, caught the shot, shot a three,
and
game over. It's like, are you effing kidding me? That's my Larry Bird story.
Bird used to tell people, I remember he told me a story about Xavier McDaniel. He said,
The X-Man, yeah.
X, I'm going to get the ball right here. I'm going to shoot a jumper right in your face. And then he got the ball and shot it right in his face.
Yeah.
And Bird says to X, I told you I was going to do it.
I like your accent. I like it. That's pretty good. But that was Larry. Larry would just, and he was saying in such a calm way that you didn't think it was trash talking, but it was trash talking. You're not going to tell me you're going to go over there and shoot the ball in my face. That's trash talking. But he would tell you before the play even started. He just come out and say, guys, you ain't got to worry. This is where the ball going. I'm going to catch it over here. And he would tell you to play and catch it over there and shoot it.
Man, I remember I was in the Garden when Magic hit the little
baby hook. Yeah.
And then going in the locker room.
Yeah.
And it was, how small those locker rooms were? And it was just chaos. Chaos in the Laker locker room after he hit that little baby hook, man.
Well, the great thing about the Celtic-Laker rivalry back in those days is we truly did hate each other. We had a real dislike for, and hate's a strong word, but we really had a dislike for the Celtics as they did for us. And when you retire and you get a chance to sit down with some of these guys, you find out why. It's because you were so much alike. You had the same goals as far as winning a championship. You had no agenda. So you really find out why you guys, hate each other so much. And I love those rivalries. The stuff they would do to us, in the locker room where they would have 4 showers, 2 didn't work, and the other 2 had cold water. And you had towels, you're supposed to get these big towels to dry off. They gave you face towels, It was hilarious, some of the things they did to us after you gone through it. And, we would never retaliate. Pat Riley was like, no, that's, me back then, I would have been like, give them no towels, turn off all the showers. But it was great for basketball.
He's Byron Scott, former Laker head coach. His basketball camp at Fullerton College runs from August 1st through the 5th. Is there information on? Is there where they can go for more information?
Yes, there is. They can go to Coach Scott. You got it over here, Paul. Paul said it over there.
I'll tweet it out.
You got it? Okay.
Paul got it over there.
Okay, a new book coming out in June of next year called For the Win. It's always great to see you, Byron.
Dan, always a
I
pleasure.
wish you the best.
Thank you.
Continental Tire Coach's Corner, our good friends there. Continental Tire is engineering tires extraordinarily great, and reliability is there for you. Continental Tire, continentaltire.com for what you do. Back with your phone calls. Reggie Miller will join us coming up a little bit, as well as the actor Matt Walsh from Veep. This is The Dan Patrick Show.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.